This episode of Navel Gazing is sponsored by valleygivesback.org. Adding a Valley charity to your estate plan creates a lasting legacy that tells future generations what causes matter to you. Your action will inspire others to follow your lead and make a difference. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley community forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Learn more at valleygivesback.org, an initiative of the Valley Community Foundation. Plan now, give later, and impact tomorrow at valleygivesback.org.
For hundreds of years we brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day.
Hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indies weekly podcast. My name is Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. Follow us on Twitter at valleyindy. Subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Valley Independent Sentinel. Very special guest today, the new Derby Middle School principal whose last name I know I'm going to butcher it. I have a mental block against it. I apologize in advance. Please welcome to the podcast, Rachael Caggiano.
Very good. Very good.
Yes. So congratulations on the new gig. You are now the principal at Derby Middle School.
Yes.
And previously you were the athletic director and assistant principal at the high school.
Correct. For the past 3 years, I've been the assistant principal and athletic director at Derby High School. And then about a week ago, officially now, I was appointed the Derby Middle School principal.
Did they just spring it on you? Did you apply for the job? Or they're just like, how does that work?
I applied for the job. There was a posting, applied for the job, went through the full interview process, and then was informed that I was selected as the candidate that they wanted to put forward to the board. And then on Thursday, I got the appointment officially from the board. So I was very excited for this next chapter in my career and to continue to be a part of the Derby family.
And I thought the purpose of this podcast is just to get to know you a little bit. I was saying before, there's no questions I've really prepared in advance. I have no agenda per se. So tell us about where you're from originally.
Sure. I was born and raised in North Branford, Connecticut, really in Northford, Connecticut, because it's kind of one of those towns where it's one town, but I live in the village of Northford. So we make that distinction that we live in Northford or North Branford. But is
this a snobby thing we're talking about?
Yeah,
is this like a Huntington Shelton thing?
It's one of those things where, two different sides of the town. I live in the Northford side, much more farmland.
Okay.
So that's, but I've grown up in Northford, lived there my whole life. Graduated from North Branford High School in 2002. So really that's kind of where I've come from. I've kept those roots in North Branford. I still live there today. We're raising our daughter there in North Branford. So it's
How
really
old's your daughter?
She's 11. She's 11 years old. Her name is Mercedes.
I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. Does it get easier or no?
It gets easier. I think we're approaching middle school. So it will be.
That's fascinating.
She'll be entering 6th grade and I'll be entering the middle school world. So at least we'll kind of be at the same place for a little while. So
where'd you go to college?
I went to college at Southern, pursued my degree in special education, and then got my administrative degree at Sacred Heart University. So Southern Owl. Got that on my door.
That's known, and that produces a lot of teachers.
It does. Southern's known for education, especially special education for sure.
And so where was your first job in the profession?
I started off my career kind of in the private sector. I began at ACES in Hamden.
Explain to me what that is as an ignoramus. I
don't
know. I kind of know.
Yeah, ACES it's called a RESC school. So it was a full special ed high school that I worked at. I had about 8 students in my class when I started with varying disabilities. So some students had emotional challenges. I had a student who was wheelchair bound, but I really that's where I kicked off my career in the special ed world. Special ed has always been something kind of that was near and dear to my heart. My mother is a special ed teacher of about 30 years now. So it
Where
kind
did she
of followed in
teach?
her
Or where
footsteps.
does
She teaches in North Branford.
Okay.
So she teaches at North Branford High School. And
Oh, so you grew up and your mom was a teacher in the school.
correct. Mom was a teacher. My mom was a fifth grade teacher when I was in fifth grade.
Okay.
And then about 10 years ago now, she transitioned to North Branford High School. So she's always been kind of my ace in my pocket. So with her vast experience in special ed, I rely on her sometimes for her 30 years of knowledge if I need that extra boost of information.
And growing up, did you always want to go into education? Did you know it was something you'd go into?
Yeah, as a young child, I knew kind of right away that education was going to be my path. There was really never any other consideration of any other passion. It just was really something that I had my heart set on. Thought I'd always be in the classroom, but those things changed, for me. And now that I'm on the other side as an administrator, I remember being a teacher, and I try to really take that with me as a principal now, and remember about what it felt like to be a teacher. Because sometimes I think teachers, sometimes people can forget what it's like to be in that classroom day in and day out.
And how about your brothers, sisters?
I do. I have a brother. His name's Jeff. He's 2 years younger than me, and he works for United Illuminating, so he's always around. Actually, I saw him today on 34. So
oh, really? He's doing some work,
always,
line work or something
always
like
exciting,
that? Okay.
correct. Always exciting to see my brother for me in the UI truck.
Dad, what type of work is your father doing or did?
Sure.
Or whatever?
My father's has always been kind of in the construction industry, so he continues to work in the construction industry today.
And so you started off at ACES, special education teacher. How did you wind up here in Derby?
After ACES, I actually went to Boys and Girls Village in Milford for a period of time.
And what's that?
At Boys and Girls Village is, again, a special ed school.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's for students, basically, districts outplace students there to get additional services. So if a school district kind of just can't provide exactly everything that's needed, these schools exist. And so I was at Boys and Girls Village for a period of time for 2 years, and I ran into someone named Kim Krieger. I don't know if Michael Krieger and Raymond Krieger's mother. She's a school nurse at Boys and Girls Village.
And she was a former longtime BOE member.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
And we were just talking one day, and she said, "Hey, there's a job opening for a special ed teacher at Derby High School. Have you ever thought, had any interest in going to the public sector from the private sector?" And I applied, and it worked out, and I got the job at Derby High School.
And what year was that?
That was in 2011. So it's gone quick, but it's been 8 years of. It seems like yesterday I came to Derby, but it's been a little bit of time that I've been here.
Okay. And so you've been a public school special education teacher at Derby High School, and then you've made the transition to the administrative side, and that started with being assistant principal at the high school and athletic director, right?
It actually started with, I was a special ed teacher at the high school for 2 years. Then I transitioned to supervisor of special ed secondary.
What does that mean?
I was basically in charge of overseeing special education, all the special ed teachers, and I did 6 through 12. Miss Sheridan was my counterpart, and she did the elementary side. So we did that together for 2 years. Then the opportunity came where Mr. Pascal became the high school principal. The opening came for the assistant principal, and I took a shot at becoming the assistant principal. And 3 years ago, we joined up as a team and started to work together at Derby High School.
And what's the job of an assistant principal? Is it like a good cop, bad cop thing? In my mind, I have it. I don't even know if there's any proof of this. I'm just talking. But like the principal is kind of the good cop, and then the assistant principal is the one that actually has to like discipline the kids and do all the stuff that.
Sometimes Mr. Pascal and I definitely had a unique vibe between us that we could play off that route. My roles and responsibilities were more discipline. But it really, I think it was a perk for me to also be the athletic director during that time. A large majority of our students are student athletes. So being the athletic director and being the assistant principal really helped kind of keep those lines of communication open with coaches and kids, and being able to understand things happen sometimes.
And then just being athletic director, first of all, you replaced someone who had the job for a very long time. Whose name escapes me.
Joe Orizzetti.
I apologize. Sorry. I was hoping you could read my eyes.
Yeah, Joe Orizzetti.
As I was saying that, Mr. Orizzetti had it for a long time. Is that, and I hear that's a tough job in general, and you're wearing two hats there. And I mean, 20 years ago, athletic director was its own thing, I believe. The fact that you held two administrative positions, Did you like pull your hair out and stay up at night, or like what was that like?
It was a little bit of a challenge.
Or do you still have it? Are they gonna have somebody else do that job?
As of right now, the position, the assistant principal position is posted, and they're looking at what the board's going to determine how they're going to move forward with the athletic director. But for right now, I'm still going to be in charge of or remain on the field project. So I initiated.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
It's a major part of the field project, and I've kind of been in so many meetings that it's near and dear to my heart, and I want to see the completion of it for the kids. So in speaking with Dr. Conway, I said, I really want to remain a part of this field project, even though I've kind of transitioned to the principal. Just want to make sure everything comes to fruition for the kids, because it's really going to be an amazing thing.
For anybody who doesn't know, basically Derby is the high school, middle school campus there on Chatfield near Derby Neck Library and all that are redoing and Nutmeg are redoing all their fields. I mean, if you drive, I just drove by this morning and they're really making progress. It's, I thought for years, I would just talk about it. It'll never actually happen, but it's happening.
Really moving.
So.
It's really moving now. So once completed, we will have a brand new baseball field, brand new football field, brand new track, brand new field house, and then we'll have some softball facilities up top closer to the high school. So really a revamping of all of the sports fields for the kids. And hopefully it kind of becomes a centerpiece for the community, for everyone to be able to use it and experience this, great opportunity that we were afforded.
And they're taking down the field house. I've seen some things on Facebook. People are emotional. They're taking down the field house.
We have it's everything's moving very quickly. So sometimes it seems like the next day it'll be down. I go down there, like you said, and the work has just been really progressing quickly. We have gone in to the field house and secured as much memorabilia and kind of those important pieces as we could.
What are some of those things?
I've
never even been inside.
Yeah, there were a couple different things. So just, for example, the Mr. Pishkaneri's poem that hung going up the football stairs, that has kind of been there for years. There's handprints on there that just years. You can't even. So many people have touched that kind of piece of history. So that has come down and been preserved, and it will be restored and kind of put back into the next field house so that we have kind of that history carried over with us. Another big thing that you probably saw on Facebook was there is some HVAC duct work that over the years teams have signed. And a couple of people were wondering if that had been restored. And we have plans to take that down and find another location for that.
You're not just going to take that, throw it in a scrap.
Right, exactly. So keeping all those kind of important things, we've restoring the Flippo football field on the bottom of the sign. While we'll get a new scoreboard, that kind of pieces of history will be kept. I guess that sense of community. I mean, one thing I've noticed about Derby in particular, and maybe it's because I live in the town. And if I go, my kids don't go to Derby schools, but if I'm at a football game, if I wander up there because I live near there, like I've seen you at a million things. Jen Moffitt, who's off mic, also in the room, is always at these events. Dr. Conway, how important is it to be involved in the community at large? I don't know if that's different from other places you've worked, or because it doesn't seem like it's a 9-to-5 job, really, or 7 to 3. Right. It definitely is not. And that's kind of what I was looking for in my career is North Branford for me is very similar to Derby, and everyone kind of knows each other, and you have to really engross yourself in the community. That's why I feel I've been successful in my career so far, is because I am around. I am visible for parents, for students, for community members who maybe have a question. That's the important piece. It's really not a 7 to 3 job anymore in education. Kids and adults and staff need support all the time, and you have to be available for that. And it's a balance. It definitely is a balance. But through being the athletic director, I was able to kind of be involved heavily with kids and everyone else really all day long. That late night basketball game, those Friday night football games, that's kind of where some of those most important conversations and connections are made.
Then in terms of Derby Middle School, why particularly did you throw your hat into the ring to be considered for that position as principal?
Sure. I feel that, over the past 3 years, Mr. Pascal and I have really created a great working relationship together. And I feel that this will allow us to continue to enhance that working relationship, but expand kind of what we've been able to do at Derby High School. So we've really worked hard on, we pride ourselves on our mantra that every student matters, and kind of continuing to carry that across. We are a really small district. It's important that we know every kid and their needs, and how we can best serve the students, the staff, and the parents. And I feel that heading down to Derby Middle School will allow me the opportunity to kind of better prepare some of our students for Derby High School and for the future that lays ahead of them.
Yeah, what are some of the things you're proud of that you and Mr. Pascal have accomplished in the last few years at the high school?
I think we really have done a good job of establishing core relationships with students that go beyond kind of the classroom. I always use the example of, we have just really created this independence in kids. For example, I received an email a day or two ago from a student athlete asking, he had met someone and wanted to know if we could pick up an extra scrimmage in soccer. And it's kind of that empowerment of kids to reach out via email. And then he responded back like, thank you so much for getting right back to me. It's important that they be heard, but that's kind of growing and being an adult and solving problems maybe on your own, and us being there to support kids. I appreciate, really just all the well wishes I've gotten from students. Really makes me feel prideful that I've made those kind of deeper connections with kids, other than just, that's my assistant principal. It's more than that. And in today's world, kids need a lot of people on their team.
And then in terms of the middle school itself, I mean, we've been around since 2009, and maybe this happens at all schools, but there's been turnover. There's been I think it was Mrs. Bonina was the principal when the middle school opened, because I remember being at the first time they opened it. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful facility. I mean, that's pretty cool there. But there's been a bunch of principal sort of turnover there. And I've heard, just talking to people informally, that's a tough job, because middle school years are the toughest to sort of teach and govern and wrangle. That's probably not the correct word. Students. So, I mean, is that true? Is this sort of the toughest age group to deal with?
Middle school is definitely a challenging set of years, I think, in general for kids. It's really that branch from 5th grade to 6th grade is a big jump for kids. That independence level starts to be created. Hormonally, things start to go a little bit crazy as well. We're growing up, and for kids, it's a difficult time to try to navigate their peer groups and those different things. And my goal is to try to really support the students and the staff and the parents to navigate those kind of difficult times, to help every kid have a clear plan as to what the future looks like and what high school looks like for them. I've been in Derby for 8 years. My goal is to really settle into Derby Middle School and create a new home there. I've created a home at Derby High School, and now I plan to create a home at Derby Middle School.
And we're talking, it's 6th, 7th, 8th grade?
Correct.
And then how many students?
It's approximately 340 students.
Okay.
So identical with the high school.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes. So what are some of your goals there? I mean, I don't really have any contact with the middle school in any way. We just, whatever pops up on social media, and a lot of times, parents will, if there's bullying or things like that, we'll sort of hear about that pop up through social media. So are there any issues you're looking to address right off the bat at the middle school, or is it more about sort of just imposing your own kind of brand there and philosophy?
Right now, it's really been a lot of, in this first week, and it will be over the next couple of weeks, a lot of listening to parents, listening to what their concerns are, what do they feel some of the greatest strengths are at Derby Middle School, and what are really some areas that they feel we could work on some things. Listening to the teachers. We have a really dedicated staff. So I think it's important.
That noise in the background is a police scanner for our listeners. Sorry about that, but go ahead.
I think it's important to hear directly kind of from the teachers what they feel they need to continue to really do this important work. As well as listen to the community stakeholders, like you said. Sometimes it is important to check out Facebook and look at Twitter, because sometimes some people are unwilling or scared to reach out, but may find a different form to reach out. And I pride myself on my door is always open. My phone's always available. I have my email right next to me at all times, whether it's 10 o'clock at night. If somebody needs me, I will get back to you. That's just who I am. That's how I operate my life. And I really want to be there for the parents, the staff, and the kids to together enhance what's there and kind of instill that Derby pride. That the Derby pride is something unlike anything I've really seen, and I want to enhance what's there at Derby Middle School and really bring it alive.
And then what's the administrative staff like at the school? There's a principal, is there an assistant principal or a dean of students? Describe that structure.
Yep.
If you
Currently at the middle school, there's a principal and a dean of students. The dean of students is Mr. Mark Russo, who joined Derby Middle School towards the end of the school year. He was appointed towards the end of the
so
school
a lot
year.
of new people in the district.
So a lot of new people for Mr. Russo being new. And I think one of the kind of benefits for myself is having been the supervisor of special ed, I've already worked with the staff at the middle school. I've already been around a lot. So for them, although I'm new, I'm not unfamiliar. Everyone kind of knows who I am and what to expect from me.
Nice. And also, we should also mention that there's a new principal at the Irving School as well. So, yeah, big changeover this year in Derby schools.
And I think what's great about our administrative team is that we really work together a lot and cohesively with Dr. Conway as kind of our spearhead to make sure we're doing what's right for the district, for the families, and for the kids. We spend a lot of hours, a lot of meetings together, and it truly is like a family. The time we all spend together, that's kind of what I can say when people ask me about Derby, why Derby? It's my family. It's what makes sense for me. It fits.
And another change that happened, I should mention, there's a new principal at Irving because Jennifer Olson now took an administrative job on the district level, I believe, as sort of is it a curriculum director?
It is the director of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We call her the CIA director.
Oh, nice. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add or talk about that I haven't asked about before we call it a day here?
Sure. Although it's only kind of been a week, I will be at the middle school from this point kind of forward. And
what's the last week been like? Have you moved all your stuff over?
The high schools.
Have you stolen anything from Martin Pascal out of his office?
He's currently away, so
nice.
I've looked at a couple of items that I'm going to be transitioning across.
You're going to have a nicer office now, right? Because it's a brand new building, essentially.
Right. It'll be a little bit bigger than Mr. Pascal's, but we'll be able to wave at each other across the street. But the high school is currently getting new windows, so my office is off limits at this point for right now. So eventually there'll be that transition. Sent the email to both staff saying hello and goodbye to Derby High School. But like I said to the Derby High School staff, I'm 25 steps across the street, so I'm not saying goodbye. I'm just saying I'll be over here, and hopefully we can continue to work together to kind of bridge the two schools together going forward.
And my question that slipped out of my mind just came back to me. There's this regionalization talk on the larger level happening with the committee that's been formed by the Ansonia Board of Aldermen and the Derby Board of Aldermen, and that's all sort of working its way through a system that could go nowhere or could make slight suggestions or could make major recommend major changes for the two districts, which whatever changes would have to be approved by voters in both towns, et cetera, et cetera. Does that play into what's the staff think about that generally? Are they concerned about it in any way, or is it something they're open to?
I think staff it's just something that people just are following in the news. I know for myself, being here 8 years, this conversation had occurred several years ago as well. So I think it's really, at this point, staff are just kind of following the articles and seeing what is kind of happening until there's kind of some more movement on it. I think then people have a greater understanding. But for right now, I think it's always important to look at things to be fiscally responsible. And I think it makes sense for two small towns to take a glance at what looks best for both towns at this point.
Yeah, and what you can do possibly.
What you can possibly do.
So there's no because sometimes I worry that because we'll see readers on our Facebook page and they think it's happening. We try to do our part to tell, but nobody listens to us. You know what I mean? We're not Channel 8.
Right. And I think that sometimes some confusing things can get out there in the community. And I was going to say before, the plan for me is at this point I will be at the middle school. I would love for people to stop by, say hello, check it out. We're preparing for that first day of school. So if kids want to come in, take a glance, or if parents want to come in, have questions, we will be there. And looking forward to.
when school start?
The first day of school, I believe, is the 27th, but staff are back the 23rd, so that's right around the corner.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, Rachel, I want to thank you so much and congratulations
Thank you.
again on the new position. Please feel free to reach out to the Valley Indy with news and events. We prefer it if it's like you could write it up and send us a picture. We will publish anything. If we can get there to cover something, we will. But this is the entire operation that you see, our multi-million-dollar operation here. So, again, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, and we appreciate your continued support.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day. Online clickbait, a prurient way. It's free information here to stay. Not even hookers give it away. Advertising, metastasizing, newsroom shrinking, constant attrition. We'll ride the dinosaur. We'll ride the dinosaur. Dinosaur. Deadlines, bylines, pictures too. An editorial comment for a buck or two. Fire down the block, the murder next door. And now we wonder what it's all for. Social media coming free to you, funny pages, the mayor's wages, criminal seats, corruption schemes, ink state wretches asking tough questions. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. The presses are running all through the night. We're printing the truth with all of our might. We're platform agnostics, got that interweb too. Buy an ad, see what we can do. We still have subscribers, still have our fans. We're here every day, so give us a chance and we'll make an art stand. Just hold us in your hand, and we'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur.